right, so today we have on the show Drewe Broughton. I keep pronouncing your second name wrong, so did I pronounce it right there?
Broughton, it's
Broughton,
okay.
yeah, okay.
It's
Drewe
okay.
Broughton, who is a fear coach. He also runs a consultancy called Sweat and Courage, and he was a professional footballer for many years, played in all the divisions in England, and he's got an incredible journey that he's been on. He's now advising some of the world's top athletes, also people in business, because a lot of people that listen to the show are in the business world, so I think you'll be giving us some good advice. But what I wanted to start with today, Drew, was, as we said, you describe yourself as the fear coach, but I imagine with fear you've had your own personal journey with fear. I've read a lot of your LinkedIn posts about your journey, found it fascinating, but yeah, could you tell us about your journey with fear?
Yeah, I think I always felt fear deeply, without doubt. I think from the age of 8, what was the feeling? It was always just an overwhelming fear of failing. I couldn't handle failing. It wasn't something that I wanted to do. Whether that was cross country at school, athletics, I just used to have this nauseous feeling all the time. Didn't know what it was, obviously. But also an incredible natural drive. I'm a very driven individual. And that's a gift I see today, but also brings us issues. The fear coach thing was, I think, at the end of my playing career 12 years ago, or 2011, 13 years ago nearly, and in a emotional rehabilitation clinic for the, I guess really the emotional traumatic effects of being a sensitive and driven soul in such a brutal industry. At the end of that, and there was an epiphany moment in that rehab centre to realise that fear, unaddressed, unconscious, had stolen everything at that time in my life. Money, family, potential, the lot. It was about 4 years ago when a really good friend of mine, we were talking. He said, "I love your stuff, but high performance coach, really boring." I went, "Cheers, man." And he said, "No, we've got to get something more punchy." And I was like, he said, "What do you do?" And we were having a beer. I said, "Well, look, if in the last 10 minutes my phone's pinged a couple of times from players," I said, "it's fear." He said, "This is good. Fear coach." And I'm like, "That's a fear coach." But to be honest, it's been powerful, I think, because what it's done is narrowed focus to go, wow, fear. It's if people don't want to talk about it. So it's you're going to push people away, or they're going to go, I'm ready to look at this. So
definitely got my attention for
Did
for
it
this
really?
podcast.
Well, that's interesting to know.
Yeah, well, everyone has fear. It's one of those things. Your ideal audience is kind of so broad because everyone goes through fear, right?
Absolutely.
You mentioned you ended up in rehab after your career. How did that happen? Like, what drove you to make that decision?
Well, how did it happen? Well, I think it happened because, like I say, I worked through, as we all have done, anyone who's done therapy and all that stuff, so much of this stuff over the years. I had sports psychologists who worked with so many people. Once I'd worked through the childhood stuff, I've had a pretty, my mum was an incredible lady, brought up me and my two brothers. My older brother's director of football at Blackburn Rovers. My younger brother runs a big tech company and back and forth between his home in Scottsdale and England. Very good life, very successful. 3 boys who have been very successful, I would guess.
Yeah.
But my father left when we were 6 or 7, divorced my mum. He's a nice guy, my dad. I see him now and again. But I didn't have a father figure during my upbringing. Now I looked at that through therapy, but beyond that, and once you've healed that, I did heal all that, complete acceptance of all of it and understanding, I was left with me, and it was the me that sent me to rehab.
Cool.
I'm very driven, huge alpha male, but I'm also extremely sensitive in the same body, extremely highly emotionally intelligent. If that was ever measured at school, my brother was intellectually very intelligent, my older brother. EQ was never measured, IQ was. My EQ would have been off the scale. I mean, I can feel a vibe in a room before we even open the door, which made it very painful to be a footballer because I can feel everything. I can feel the whispers, I can feel the judgment, I can hear, I can sense. Makes you very creative. I was a very creative individual. I could make things happen out of nothing. Managing that, being that, and then managing that in that industry, in professional sport, very, very difficult.
Yeah.
And I think that's what sent me to rehab, because nothing's ever enough. That's the winner.
Yeah.
Driving, huge tolerance for for pain, no problem. I can endure and suffer physically and mentally, but so sensitive. So I want it so badly, feeling everything. Want it so badly. It was so difficult. And stumbled through the career and then ended up there at 33. Yeah.
So how was that? Because obviously, a fascinating part of your life is actually playing professional football, right? How was that affecting you on the pitch, like day to day, having this, high EQ, as you said, but there's a downside to it?
Thinking, just I'm overthinking, just completely attached with thinking.
Yeah.
Which was being fueled 24/7 by the industry because it's more thinking.
Yeah.
Watch videos of the clips. Let's look at your technique. What could you have done there? What could you have done there? Think about that. Then you're into comparison. What's he doing? And being sensitive, you're picking up vibes. And when we feel things, and we have no idea of any of this, what we do is we feel it. It feels a certain way, painful, frightening, and we go here to solve it.
Yeah.
So I was constantly up here trying to solve what I was feeling here with no idea what I was feeling here, which was fear and fear of failure, judgment. Yeah, so I think I'm a very, very high-performing individual. I always have been. High performance is used a lot, and I find it a bit wishy-washy these days, a lot of it, because it's not a comfortable place.
Yeah. There's
no finish line. It's a relentless self-reflection, which is you don't choose; it chooses you. I got a wife, 4 kids. I want to be the best husband. I want to be the best father. I want to be the best business. It's relentless.
Yeah.
And you're failing all the time there.
Yeah.
But trying to grow all the time.
Yeah.
There was a period only this week actually where Monday night I woke up at 1 a.m. staring at the ceiling, and I'm a real deep sleeper. Whatever's going on, I can sleep. I mean, we've got twin girls who are nearly 2, so that's all going off at the moment. But I woke up at 1 a.m. with this overwhelming feeling of anger and resentment, and I knew what it was about. And I sat there looking at the ceiling, which is very rare for me to be awake like that. And I had to get up at 5 a.m. To go and work with clients. And I just felt this overwhelming feeling. And I thought, no, I'm not going to go. Because I felt angry and resentful. And so I chose not to go. And then this is the feeling deeply.
Yes.
And I'm going to take a couple of days to process what I'm feeling here and a solution for it. And then working through that resentment over the next 24 hours, I was able to see my part in that resentment. And I was a coward. I was a coward at a certain period 6-7 months ago, and now I'm paying a price for my cowardice.
Interesting.
So it's like, that's high performance, right?
Yeah.
It's just relentless. But trying to be self-reflective constantly.
Well, it's great that you have that self-reflection of, okay, I'm feeling anger and resentment, as you said, but what's the part I've got to play? And to give you probably the heaviest podcast we've ever done, I interviewed a guy who's a psychiatrist with people who've committed mass murders, and they're on death row. And obviously I was trying to get into the psychology of why would you do this job? And funnily, he's a Mexican-American, and he was defending someone that had murdered like 13 Mexican Americans, who's basically defending someone who'd murdered people exactly like him. And then we got into a lot of the Carl Jung stuff about the collective unconscious, and he was saying, I don't think these people should be executed, but I do think they should be in prison for what they've done. But at the same time, I have to see myself in them. And that's a difficult realization. I think when you're a kid, you think, how can a mass murderer be anything like me? But it's putting yourself in their situation. If I was in their situation, a lot of them don't have parents and have gone through like terrible life. But yeah, that was like a very extreme example, but it's good to hear you talking about that self-reflection of, what's my part in this situation.
Well, it's extreme, but actually you've skipped us on to what I alluded to earlier when we were speaking, that, every year of doing this, 13 years of coaching individuals across the world, every year I go through kind of it, because I'm constantly growing, because every day my conversations are so deep, it's just constant self-reflection. And the growth period in the last year is really, the last 12 to 18 months has really been the darkness. Maybe 2 years, the last 2 years, I think. The understanding, watching the solutions I get with people by them going into areas inside themselves that are so buried, often through shame, self-shame. I'm ashamed of I'm ashamed of thinking this way. I'm ashamed of feeling this way. And making it normal for all of that it's a very powerful process. Liberating, you see performance go through the roof. But that wholeness, the dark and light coming together, there's a price to pay with that authenticity. You know, it gets lonely because you start to realise how inauthentic. Because that darkness, shadow side, to go to your point of can you see in a serial killer? I can see in me a psychotic edge at times. As a footballer, if I was losing, I've stamped on guys and put studs through their chest. I've broken cheekbones off the ball with an elbow straight. I've done heinous things. Yeah, I'm crying at Disney in the evening, and I'm crying with my daughter, 3 girls, crying. I'm the softest, kindest man, but there's an element of darkness in there, which I was full of shame for. Yeah, ashamed, because when you acted that out, of course, what's going to come on the back of that is judgment, toxic shame. Learning toxic shame was really powerful for me. Understanding that. You know, I was very toxically shamed by the time I walked into rehab. Toxic shame being, I saw myself as completely flawed, had serious issues. The amount of times I was told you've got issues. And so I really believed that. Yeah. Rather than, well, hang on a minute, what was the behaviour? Oh, you punched that guy. Oh, it's interesting. You know, what was the feeling there? Yeah. That was never a discussion. It was just like, who does this? You've got an issue.
Never the why. There's no why.
And for me now, it's so interesting. I can see the look of horror in some of these leaders' faces when I work with them. And you know, so and so said this to one of my staff today. Walked past him and looked at him like a piece of shit. And that's he got off lightly, I think. And you could see them all look at me, staff. And like, what do you mean? I said, well, he's a winner. Like you got off lightly if you just got a bad look. I mean. Have you not seen Paddington Bear? He said, I watch it with my daughters. He's got the evil bear stare. I said, so you just got one of those? You're lucky. Had he not punched you? Did he not spit in your face? None of that. No. He got off lightly today. And you leave it, and you just see. I said, can we just understand the level of him? Because on one hand, you've just told me this guy has the ability to win big, change things for you. Well, hang on. Yeah. That doesn't come without darkness. Like, yeah, of course it does. And actually, the performance drop-off is because he's starting to go into shame and... Yeah. Jordan Peterson really hits this work. I went to see him in the O2. I find him a fascinating individual.
Yes.
I find him mind-blowing, yeah.
Well, I think a lot of his stuff comes from Jung, right? So he's...
Absolutely. You can't reinvent the wheel. Someone said to me the other day, I want to take your stuff, Drew, but I don't want to rip it off. I said, take my stuff. I said, I haven't made anything up.
Yes.
No, anyone telling you that's huge ego. Like, there's nothing here.
Everything's just repurposing, taking someone else's ideas and again going to your thing about the self. It's taking one idea but making it your own, right?
You just put your own spin on it, don't you?
So both. Well, maybe we can start with you, and then we can come into your clients. So say that shadow, you're going through this process, right? I've definitely been in this process myself. So maybe even asking
hear about that,
from myself as well. But people listening to this, maybe again starting to identify this inner evil or shadow, whatever you want to call it.
I call it the winner in me.
The winner. Okay. How do you work? How have you worked with yourself on this part of your your psyche?
Well, it first of all was rehab. You just walk in there and it's like, well, I'd lost everything material in my life, and I was sitting there with a piece of paper in the first night in this cottage, and it was like I had to write on family, finances, career. Well, family, they've all gone. I don't have any relatives in the UK, and then what I did have left me. So finances, I'm 80 grand in debt, I don't have any income, I'm finished. No one will give me a contract in football, that's finished. It was a pretty quick process. Family, finances and career, no one was touching me. I'd had 22 employers in 17 years. No. It's pretty unemployable. My agent called me and said, look, I think it's not been good, the feedback. So I was accused of taking teams down, being a cancer in the locker room, all of these things. So it was a pretty quick 0-0-0. That moment it's rock bottom. There's nothing. Yeah. It's zero. So, but it was a moment to go, well, the only thing that's not zero, the only thing left in here is self. Yes. That was a journey of who the hell am I? Yes. And I always say to people now, if you can't answer that in under 5 seconds, you've still got work to do. Like, Like, I really, if you're going to go into leadership, take that on hugely as a father, as a leader of the family, working with leaders. Like, I know who I am. I'm a winner, and I'm highly sensitive and emotional.
Yes.
Huge moral compass, sense of God, whatever that is. Highest moral sense. So that's who I am. Everything else is additions to father, husband, brother. It's not who I am. The winner has been, a long time to understand that that's what that is. Okay. I'm a winner. I've got a four-year-old son, and he's tougher than any client I've got. I'm so aware, and I'm watching it play out in him.
Yeah.
I mean, he got a coat the other day and whipped his sister across the face with his coat, zip cutter, and and she's screaming, and his sister's 12. And what's happened? I just beat him at the game, and he didn't. That's the minute you beat him, it's all hell breaks loose.
Yeah.
I have to let him win.
Yes.
And people say, no. I've heard people say, I taught my son, I beat him every time. Man. Like, I don't want my house to burn down.
Yeah.
But I'm watching that, and because of my wife lives with me and understands me, she lets me manage that. Yes. And I said the biggest danger to him is shame.
Yeah.
He's a winner.
Yes.
There's an energy in him so powerful. He's 4. He doesn't know anything. Like, he's not been taught anything. He's just got this energy going on that he can't. Yeah. It's a dark energy, isn't it?
Yeah.
So
how do you channel that with both athletes you're working with your son?
I don't know. I don't know how to do it. Anyone who's got the answer on anything, I'm skeptical of. I just try and feel empathy, which you start to understand is empathos is the Greek. In suffering, empathy means. So really, empathy means I've suffered badly and I'm still in touch with that suffering emotionally, and I'm going to sit with. So when he's suffering on the back of, he's lost a game to his sister or whatever, he's suffering at that point. I've suffered there. Yeah. And I can pull that emotion up and sit with him. The rage, the anger. I saw he gets his fist like the Hulk and he's squeezing and everything's going in. I'm just observing that going, wow, it's energy. Yeah. Energy. So I just try and sit with them in that place. Brené Brown talks about, empathy is not the same as sympathy. Sympathy is, you'll be okay. You'll be okay. And do you want a chocolate bar? And empathy is, I'm going to sit with you for as long as you need in here. I've sat with athletes who've cried for 15 minutes. Big American footballers crying. I mean, that's uncomfortable. Yeah. Sobbing. Wow. And I'm sitting in a one-to-one and I'm just trying to center myself and just sit with them. Yeah. So I think, because also there's a lot of, and I've been guilty of this, I think, in myself. I say in relationships, right? Sometimes if your partner's suffering, right? Tough. So if my partner Anna, she's suffering, sometimes I want to fix her, right? Yeah. But they don't need you to fix them, as you said. No. They just need you to be there and be present with them and almost feel their energy in a way. But I think, and maybe that's, again, you're into Jung, so maybe you looked into this, maybe that's like a male thing of like always trying to be logical and fix, but sometimes you just need to surrender and be like, this is a moment she just needs my presence, maybe. Yeah, and also I can't save her. Like, I'm married and I believe we've got a good marriage, but I like what Peterson says about a healthy marriage is constant conflict with moments of great joy, and you grow together, you make a commitment to grow together, and it is conflict. Because I'm bringing my winner, and there's an element of winner in my wife. She's strong, feisty. She's got 3 kids under 4, no problem. I'm going to do this. Was successful in sales, and she's relentless. She's a machine. I mean, I look at her and go, wow, I admire the hell out of her. But that means when there's conflict, it's game on. Yeah. No problem. I'm sleeping on the sofa for 4 nights. Fuck you. I'll divorce you in a second, I've said to her. I'll fucking leave you in a second. Yeah. Who speaks to someone like that? I said, me. But that moment is the winner provoked in me. Yes. Is there ego in there? Probably. Is there anger? Probably. So I can work through that and we can heal and conflict resolve. But I don't stop that coming out. Yeah. Nor does she. And I think that's really healthy. Yeah. If you can work through the ego to see your part in it. Yeah. I was thinking about this because I actually said to my partner Anna the other day, I was like, sometimes it's healthy to have a little bit of fear of you, because that goes to like the respect, right? In a relationship. Fear is really good. Healthy fear is good.
So obviously you're, the fear coach, as we were talking about. What's like, because I said this before, I actually read a book called Letting Go by David Hawkins.
Yeah.
You read that one? Yeah. So that's like, you acknowledge the fear, you accept it, and then you let it go. So it's acknowledging you're always going to have fear.
Do you know what? I just get so pissed off with these books. Like, how the fuck do you just let that go?
Yeah.
Like, letting go is the single hardest thing we will ever do. And the more of a winner you are, the harder it is to let go.
Yeah.
The winning people with that level of drive, we're control freaks. I'm an absolute control freak who chunks my life down to 24 hours at a time. Can I let go for today? There's a process to doing that. I use ice water in the mornings. I meditate. I pray. I write gratitude. They're just some tools to enable me for a day to be serene and to accept whatever's going to come my way. So just to let go is so hard.
Yeah.
But I get it. I get the thinking behind it, but I just get a bit pissed off with it. You know, you see it online, don't you? Just let go today. And fucking let go is taking me 45 years. I can't, and even now, I want to control it. I want to know.
Yeah.
I see that on steroids in high-performing cultures, in professional sport, where the coach could be fired in 6 games, players fragile, have to go out in front of the public twice a week and perform. There's no acceptance of uncertainty. In fact, oftentimes the whole culture is unconsciously to gain some sense of certainty for the game at the weekend. From Monday morning, if you observe a training ground, I think a lot of it, if you just sat and watched, is to just gain some sense that I think we're going to be okay on Saturday. So the sports scientists are all running around collecting data, because the data is going to tell them we're looking good because look at the data, and we're looking. Let's watch the videos. Actually, it's pretty good data, and so just sit there and go, oh, we might be fucked here.
Yeah. We were talking before we started recording about creativity, and obviously you just mentioned data, and I think because I mentioned to you about in my business with sales training, sometimes people are looking too much at the data and not some of the stuff that you can't measure. And I know you talked about in your career, you felt like you were overly analytical sometimes and didn't trust almost like that gut feeling. But I was wondering if you could talk more about your experience with that.
Yeah, I today I'm a creativity in the origin of the word, because I've started to do this. Another thing in the last year, started to look at words, and based on all the coaching hours I've done, and we were out in America working at Cornell University, working with 200 athletes. Lewis and I, who works with me, he's an ex-golfer, recovered alcoholic, who now real insights on this stuff, lived there as a golfer. And we'd had 16 hours that day between us, 8 and 8 each. Wow. 16 different athletes, and we sat there at the hotel bar, him with his non-alcoholic beer and me with a beer, and I was like, fuck, what came up today, man? And he's like, we started to just words that came up, pressure. There might be 5, 6 words. Yeah. And I said, what does that mean? And he's like, no idea. Because you think you know what pressure means. What does pressure mean? Well, it kind of means what does it mean? So we started to do this thing of Googling words. Unbelievable. Pressure, Latin and Greek origins, means burdened by. So we started to create this dictionary almost of words. It's incredible. Wow. People use words. Someone said to me the other day, I'm working on not being as nice. I've got to lose some of my niceness. I said, what does nice mean? I started it means ignorant. I said, you're actually, you want to stop being as ignorant. He said, what do you mean ignorant? I said, that's what the dictionary says. Look, it's not me. Well, ignorant of what? I said, probably the truth. Most things come back to the truth. Yeah. And what's the truth? Well, you don't perform, you're out. Oh, so no, you can be nice if you want, but just don't be ignorant. Yeah. Maybe if you be yourself, some people won't think you're very nice. That's all right, but you're not ignorant. So it's like this powerful process to go back to creativity. Creativity, I mean, it's the deepest sense of feeling, isn't it, and being. Creative artists, musicians, any of that. There's a reason, isn't there, that the best artists are usually in and out of rehab, and because he's so sensitive and highly in tune. You could see a butterfly fly by and get 6 lyrics. Like, that's ridiculous. But it's true. And then, but hanging in there when everyone around you's go, right, you got to sit there. You see artists, don't you? You got to go and write this album. It needs to be finished in 3 months. I'm not fucking. I don't even know what I'm going to do 3 months. Certainly don't feel like writing anything. They smash an album out in 3 days. Yes. 4 months later, what is that? It's. I don't know how I feel right now. So creativity, I'm very creative, and then you go back to being a footballer. And I had this with someone a couple of weeks ago, because the staff, their staff were all previous defenders.
Yeah.
Now being a defender is risk mitigation. It's like, okay, well, how do we stop?
Yeah.
The wheels falling off. How do we stop loss? My job is to breach that, and they work all week to make it watertight, that wall. I've just got to find a way through. And I look back. I was speaking to someone who was, he's like, we're doing some athlete performance plans. I said, okay, well, what's that? Well, things they need to work on. I said, okay. So if I was going back to me being a number 9 in football, I have to score goals. Yeah. I have to link the play. Yeah. So if I'm not doing that and it's visually obvious, we're going to do a plan. He said, that's it. I said, okay, what would be the solutions then? He said, well, we'd speak to the coach and formulate, some training programs. I said, so just to clear this up, so I'm 29 now, just play with me a bit here. So I'm 29, I've played 450 games. I'm not scoring goals, I'm not holding the ball up, and we're going to do a technical plan. And I've done this for 15 years at that point. Do you think I need to sharpen up my technical skills? Yeah, I said, well, this is what I did. So then I'd go and get drunk, obliterated 3 times that week, sleep with 2 or 3 girls. By Saturday afternoon, I'm like, fuck knows, man. I'm in the locker room. These guys are good guys. Let's go and play football. And you score 2-3 goals. Everyone's talking to you. Media wants to interview you, and I'm just really confused, going, oh, what the fuck is this? Because I've literally thrown everything I've been taught out the window. I've done the direct opposite of what is deemed a good professional, and the results are outstanding. I'm so confused. And my career was spent like that, just confused. Yeah. And I look back at, well, what does alcohol do? What does sleeping around do? What does you're feeding the ego? Your creativity can just come through because you've surrendered all thinking. Yeah. You've surrendered thinking. You're just like, let's just go play. Well, but I was also very intelligent and moral, so I'm like, well, alcohol's not. I'm not stupid. That's not. I don't feel good doing that. Yes. My best runs, without doubt, in 17 years, every great run of 9-10 games was fueled by women and alcohol. And then I stopped that. Wow. And then I'd go really professional, cold turkey for 8 months. Yeah. Results fell off a cliff. Is that a solution? No. So, but you start to go, well, what's happening? Yeah, yeah. You're really just giving up, or you're surrendering to thinking, like, I'm done. Yeah. But can we do that in a healthy way? In a healthy way. That's been my driver. That's what drives me every day, to find solutions for that in a healthy way.
Very interesting.
To allow creativity to come. Yeah.
So essentially, the analytical part was actually in your sober phase, 8 months. You're really focusing on your football.
So I paid externally people, scientists, best nutritionists, sending away hair follicles, urine, saliva samples. I want the complete makeup, potassium, magnesium. What am I deficient in? Yeah. So I'd go either complete data, science, all in, or I'd go, fuck it, I'm all out the other side. Yeah. The polarity of the winner is huge. I'm all in, I'm all out. Yeah. There was never going, I look at the top individuals, Ronaldo, they have Mo Salah, Messi, they're all in. They live like great professionals, body fat, they train, they push themselves, but they have an ability with faith to let go. Yeah.
Well, let's talk about that actually, because you write a really interesting post or article around, I think you mentioned Djokovic, Messi, Ronaldo, Tiger Woods, and you were talking about how they've got a very dark shagger, they've got a very narcissistic side. But that's actually their superpower as well. So tell us more how you analyse them.
I've seen in 17 years of playing, 13 years of coaching. That's 30 years now in professional sport. 5 years in business. but it's all the same. I think sport's far harder than business. And I'll say that I've got 3 businesses, doesn't touch sport. No one gives a shit. It's why CEOs buy football clubs, to get some fame and notoriety. No one gives a shit. Got 200 million, no one cares. Who are you?
Yeah.
You own a football club, you're now in the media every day.
Yeah.
So football's tough, like sport's tough.
Yeah.
You judge publicly. You've been in the CEO academy from the age of 7. I've never met a CEO who was specialising at 7. He usually went to uni, got pissed, went into sales and started a company. Or at 7, you're in at tennis at what, 6? You're in.
Yeah.
You're in, living it, watching it. So, yeah, I think... remind me of the question again. I've gone off on a tangent.
No, just around the thing was around they've got a very strong shadow, but they channel it in a certain way.
Yeah. I just think. I just think that. Sorry, that's what I was saying. I've seen 30 years. What I've seen grow, because I went through kind of when I became a professional in 1995. You're still in the old school then.
Yeah.
I was coming in. There was still a lot of old school. Out drinking, players training with bin bags on under their tops to sweat out the alcohol. It was old school.
Yeah.
But it was right at the end of the old school. So I caught the last 2-3 years. Okay. Then I caught the movement into the new school. You go from pre-season where it's just running up hills to all of a sudden blood tests are getting done. You're barely breaking a sweat in week 1 because it's all on heart rate. So I saw the transit. I lived in both worlds. The old school in all of it, there was parts of that which were really wrong. Bullying, racism, shaming. It was all ugly stuff. I mean, some of the stuff that I went through as a 17, 18-year-old young professional, that wouldn't even be deemed anywhere near acceptable today. There'd be serious issues. I think what happened is, and it was wrong, I think because of that, and then the mental health growth, and then the constant search for higher performance, it moved into all this too far. I think it's gone too far.
The other side,
The other side. It's life's really simple. Nature shows us it's a balance. pH levels in water, it's a balance. And I think it's gone so far. And I think the well-being movement that's popped up and all these people who really mean well and they're passionate and they want to help, they're all avoiding the darkness. I saw a guy the other day on LinkedIn. It's like, we're going to barefoot walking and breath work and ice water. And okay. I've got a clothing brand and big brand coming out middle of this year with a clothes designer who's a friend of mine. Sweat and courage, but we're doing all this kind of stuff. In the factory in China, we're having the ice baths made because I've been doing that for 4 or 5 years now. But I said, I'm sick of this shit of people going in ice baths. It's horrific. There's not one bit of that's nice. Sat in there yesterday for 10 minutes. Hate it. Why are we doing it? Darkness. So I said, on the lid, can we print this in the factory? So I've printed something like stop. Why the hell are you doing this? It's 1 degree. Stand still for a second and anchor with all your demons. What burdens do you carry? What overwhelms you? What terrifies you? Sit with that for a minute. Now I'm going to try and get in there because it's a letting go process. I'm saying, I did in the ice today and it's not fucking jolly. Like, it's horrific. So it's like, can we go into the darkness first? What terrifies you? What overwhelms you? My mother's got cancer. I've just found out my wife's pregnant. Okay, you might want to try and let go of some stuff.
Yes.
And I think we're bypassing all of that.
Yeah.
And I see it in the psychology work with athletes. I see it. It's really dangerous and it's damaging. I'm fighting a bit of a lone furrow with this, but I've got a voice. Our union, the Professional Footballers Association, bought my education off me. I'm now teaching the next level of footballers are going to be coaches on emotional intelligence. But it's dark stuff. It's the truth.
Yeah.
And we've got to go in there. And I think there's a bypassing of all of that.
Yeah.
And so to go to the point about Djokovic and Woods, and if they're winning, if they're winning, everyone's happy. But as long as they're nice little boys, it's bullshit.
Yeah, definitely.
I sat with a golfer years ago. He was on the tour, he was snapping his clubs at the time and doing all this stuff, and he'd thrown a club at a caddy. And I said, we were sitting. I said, who's the most fine player in golf? I don't know. He's like, well, just Google it, Tiger Woods. So it's like, okay, well, what's that? So you just start to go, the winner. Yeah. There's fallout from the winner.
Yes.
You saw Djokovic 2 days ago as he went for someone in the crowd. Fantastic.
I think he smashed 44 rackets in his career.
44 rackets, and still at 36, with more Grand Slams than anyone, is still going for someone in the crowd who dares to cross him. It's the winner. You don't come in here. That level of self-boundarying is why he's exceptional. And it links completely and controversially to the vaccine. It wasn't about a vaccination. I was observing that going, here's a guy who currently is making a stand for something against the whole world at that point, and prepared to take everything on the other side of that. And Jordan Peterson talks about authenticity. You'll have the adventure of a lifetime. Yeah. Unbelievable things will happen. But it's completely dangerous and wrought with insecurity and uncertainty. But you're whole. And I just watched this man going, I'm not doing that.
Yes.
And I saw all the tennis players coming on. Murray's brother interviewed, mocking him at the Australian Open that year. I saw them all and I thought, you little boys. Because I've been there as a player, little boys in the locker room. Who the fuck gives... At the end of your playing career, no one cares about you, man. Yeah. They care about him. His CV is and he's still here 3 years on, seeing them all off. It's like Ronnie O'Sullivan. Yeah. And just this week, being back at the Australian Open, I'm thinking the link to that moment in the vaccine 3 years on, where he was shamed publicly, called a criminal. And all I was observed was never about any of that. I was going, here's a guy who knows himself, who's in touch with his instincts. Yes. Which is why on the court, when other people go under and start steering the ball down, I'm a golfer, I'm in tennis, you must start steering it. And
you get stiff. Yeah.
Okay, there we are. He just, there was a moment in the Wimbledon final, actually, which I saw. What's his...
Alcaraz.
Alcaraz. He was on him, wasn't he? He was putting the heat on him, and there was a moment late on, it's probably 2 sets all. Did it 3-2 in the end? Yeah. 2 sets all. And I think he was like... down break point 0-40, I think, Djokovic, and Alcaraz had just done another amazing cross-court shot. And there's a moment, the camera's on Djokovic, he took a really deep breath and he kind of went like this, and he just stood and gazed down the court and didn't move, and the camera stayed on him, and then he spat down on the floor, bounced the ball, went ace, and then got back in for juice and whatever. And I had it recorded, so I rewound it and watched that back so many times. And I sent it to a bunch. That's the moment where you go, I'm fucking going under here. Yeah. I'm dying here. I'm fucked. I'm tired. My legs are heavy. Got nothing left. This guy's just smashing me. And you feel it. Yeah. You don't bypass it into, oh, well, come on, remember that shot next time and tough, that one. And you just feel everything. Yeah. The spitting is the winner. Oh, we don't spit here. We fucking do. Bang. I'm going to get all of my self-disgust, anger, rage. It's coming out. Now we go again. Yeah. It's like, wow. Like, do you know what I mean? Yeah. There's moments with Tiger Woods when he used to spit on the tee, which he revolutionised golf, T-shirts and spitting on tee. No one was doing any. I mean, it was... Yeah. And it was like this side. It doesn't have to be dangerous serial killing, but there's an energy.
Yes, the serial killing is definitely an extreme version.
Yeah, but it's all related.
Yeah. But I think you brought up something very interesting. A lot of the podcast is called The Cosmic Bridge because it's about balance, right?
Well, and who gets that?
And then what you're discussing there is, I've got, so I'm 34. I've got 2 older brothers. One is 43, one's 53, right? So people like from your generation. And there's that kind of bridge of how things have changed, right? And I think, as you said, let's just take football as an example. We went from one extreme to the other, like, Gaza and Maradona basically turning up from a nightclub and playing football, but still playing very well, right? Yeah. And now we've gone to this, snowflake generation, whatever you want to call it. And I actually, I'm a Chelsea fan, and funny enough, I saw John Terry give a keynote speech at a business event, and I didn't even know he was speaking. It just happened at the time. But what he was saying, as a coach at Villa versus his time playing, is the culture at Chelsea, when Chelsea was successful, with Lampard, Drogba, Peter Cech, whatever, there was that shadow, and they were all giving each other feedback, but there was that shadow being very direct with each other, right? But they were learning from each other, and it was like they were accountable to one another, shouting at each other in the dressing room, right? But they made each other better as a result. And he was saying the difference now is, as a coach, he's got to be very sensitive. He's got to be very careful with everyone's ego and that sensitivity. And I think that shows that we've gone too far in the other direction. You can take this outside of the context of sport and like politics and social media and cancel culture, and that we're not having conversations with each other anymore. And you said a really good thing earlier, like you can't hide from the truth, but people are constantly trying to hide from the truth and just like trying to think, oh, don't say that. If you say something negative to me or criticize me, I'm never going to speak to you again in my life, which is stupid because it's actually that feedback that's going to make us better people.
It's interesting with the whole John Terry, Chelsea, that era, because I played in that era. In fact, I'm 45, so I'm probably about a year older. I remember being in the England under-20 squad for the World Cup, Michael Owen's, Carragher's year.
Yeah.
So I'm probably a year or so older than John Terry, but played against many players, and there's a reason they all fail in management. Because they're emotionally cut off from what they truly felt in that period. Part of my process is realising I could go toe-to-toe with any of them. I was tough, 6'3", head full of scars. Like I'm tough, whatever the hell that means. Well, my spirit's tough. What I think they were able to do, some not conscious of it, just ignorance is bliss.
Yeah,
not deep thinker. So I'm just in it. But the ones you have to shut down your emotions to survive in there.
Yeah.
And this is what was so confusing for me, and I think also confuses people with me today watching me. They would go, I certainly have had it messaged to me on LinkedIn privately, you were tough. Like, a guy messaged me the other day, I watched your post, you're not throwing elbows around anymore. It's laughing and joking, but people would I wouldn't fuck with him on a football pitch. Yet in any environment like that, I would shrink away from that. Yeah, if the ball was hung up with John Terry, no problem. I'll head the side of your face. We're going to win the ball. I don't give a shit. No, but so it's not a toughness thing. Yeah. The reason they fail in leadership is because, today we have to protect their fragile egos. No, today they're more conscious, these kids. They're more aware. They're still winners. They were born winners, these kids, as you were born a winner. They've just been put into a system which is so heightened now.
True.
He came through when I came through. There wasn't academies. We went into associate schoolboy forms. So we were at school playing Sunday football. Yeah. And then at 14, at Norwich City, I would go and play against Chelsea, and we'd play every weekend. These guys are in it 10 hours a week. I've coached in academies. They're getting indoctrinated with messages and learnings, and they're streams of information, battering them. Yeah, they're still tough. So I don't buy it. I think John Terry's here, a lot of those guys, they're emotionally shut off. Yeah. I know because I've worked with lads at Everton, and they said when Lampard was managing there was moments where we felt him. I said, go on. They said, I felt Lampard in the dressing room at half time, felt his soul, and then walls came back up, and you can see the lads going, come on, this is what we want. This is the fucking leader. Come on, and they're waiting for him, and then there's that moment where you can see him going, oh, I'm revealing too much here. I'm now vulnerable. Yeah. I'm going to come back now, and I'm now a coach. It's like, oh, fuck, now you've lost him.
Yeah. So it's the authenticity piece. It comes back to the self.
But what is authentic? What are you feeling? What did you feel then as a player? These guys walking around like I had no fear.
Yeah.
Well, fuck off. Because I was tough and I was full of fear. How can you not have fear?
Yeah.
They're not scared of getting hurt. I've sat with American footballers and big, stacked guys. I'm afraid of getting hurt, sir. I said, I bet you are, man. And can we just talk about that? And then going back to the coaches and going, several of your guys are afraid of getting hurt. And the coach just taking a breath and goes, I was always afraid of getting hurt. Have you ever shared that? No. Fucking hell. What are you all doing here?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So it's, yeah. I think a lot of those guys were emotionally dysfunctional, if I can say that.
Yeah. So there's a business concept, and I may bring it back to your experience with football and what we're talking about Lampard business, I talk about flaunting your flaws, and basically I think especially we live in this era of social media perfection. Everyone's pretending they got the perfect life on social media, and obviously no one's perfect, right?
Nope.
And with salespeople, people mistrust, as a statistic, only 18% of buyers trust salespeople. Salespeople are seen as like the worst of society. But one of the reasons is salespeople are always pretending they got the perfect solution. Yeah. So one of the things we teach is to break the mold and tell someone why they shouldn't buy from you. What are all the things that are wrong about your product? And actually you're going to build that trust with the person because it's authentic, right? And you're being open, right? So one of our principles is like being open. So tying it back to what you're saying, is that what you're saying is actually great managers and leaders, whether it's in sport or business, they're being open because that's their authenticity. And you mentioned the word vulnerability as well.
But there's a thing with authenticity. You can't just, who are you? And are you really being authentic? Like, because I've got this thing where winning is easy. People winning, big profits, that's easy. People are like, what do you mean? I've been fighting a whole life. Try being authentic for 24 hours. Just for today, just till, I say to people, just to 7 o'clock tonight. Feel it, Djokovic, up to the stand, fuck you. Smash a record, next one, backs him, not taking that. Just do that for 24 hours and just see how hard that is. Don't worry about winning. You do that cumulatively, that's just coming winning. Your energy's just so strong, you'll just see people off. But try being authentic for 24 hours. And that's something that in rehab, when I'd lost everything and was only left with myself, I don't have anything, but I have myself. Well, who am I? When I started to uncover the winner in all the therapy, uncover the winner, uncover the emotional, sensitive man, I'm going to try and be authentic. I'm going to try, day at a time. And I don't succeed all the time, hence the dark night of the soul on Monday night, staring at the ceiling in the dark, because I've been a coward 6 months ago. Okay, well, but I'm prepared to walk back into that conversation. I was a coward because of this, and this. So, like, authenticity is fucking hell. People aren't authentic.
Yeah.
Not truly authentic.
Yeah.
John Terry, my day was shut up. Fuck off, John. No, because Tony Adams was the greatest centre-half we probably ever had in this country. Alcoholic.
Yeah.
Why? Because he said I was a very sensitive man. I remember being at school, hyper sensitive, but he was very creative as a player.
Yeah. Tough,
very tough. So do you know what I mean? Part of a locker room and the Invincibles, and who easily were the same as Chelsea. During a period of Arsenal. A lot of addicts in that locker room. Look at Thierry Henry coming out the other day. Seeing on the Stephen Bartlett podcast. Crying his eyes out. Whoa.
Yeah, that was a surprise.
It's all coming on 15 years later, so I don't buy any of that shit. I've been in that industry my whole life. I'm that age, I look back, don't buy it.
Yeah. A question, again, relating a kind of a theme that's come up on the show in business, but I think definitely relates to football, is there's the classic thing of, if someone sets up their company and they think the goal is, I want to exit, right? I want to make 300 million. And then they get the 300 million and they're depressed. And then they realise, it was the journey and now I'm not on the journey anymore. So they reach the mountaintop. And we've had various guests on the podcast who've been like that. But then I think from the football side of the old school era, especially someone like Gaza, who is the nation's sweetheart, one of the best creative footballers we've ever had. And obviously he's suffered a lot in his career, but he's one of many, like you mentioned.
One of many.
Tony Adams, right? And I don't know if you've worked with any players like that actually have been super successful in tennis, American football, whatever it is. But then actually after their careers, they're lost and they don't know what to do. Yeah,
but because, I saw Aaron Rodgers, the quarterback, talk. He's a very, very spiritually, emotionally tough man.
Yeah.
And he was sharing that his career is coming to an end. And he doesn't want anyone to tell him, just take time and you find another. He said, part of me will die forever the minute I stop playing. I don't believe in all this identity stuff. I'm a footballer. I was born a footballer. I was born a quarterback. And the quarterback's going to die soon and I'll give him a funeral. Take my shirts and might cry a little bit. But that'll be dead forever. And I'll have to mourn.
Yeah.
And it will never heal. And I thought, that now we're talking. Like, that's the truth, right? So I think, to go to your original thing about exit strategies, I wrote a book 5 years ago called "And Then What?" because that was just, that's the winner. Like, nothing's ever enough. And then what? I was always thinking something's going to fix something.
Yeah.
You get that money, the house and the car and the money, and it's all bullshit. Now, nothing ever, because I see it in the golf. I remember at a really good golf club, and I go up there to my downtime in a couple of weeks, in a couple of times a week, and just play golf by myself or chip and putt and practice. And I see a lot of very wealthy guys in their 60s and fucking big cars, and I was thinking, I look at them, I think I wouldn't want to be. You look fucked.
Yeah.
You look broken.
Yes.
I wouldn't want to be you. Take your 3 Aston Martins and your Bentley GT, all of the stuff that you come in. I wouldn't want any of that. Because I've been there as a footballer and you make some money. I never made the big money, but relatively speaking, at 17, you BMW M3 and you've got all this stuff. Yeah. It's fucking empty. Top of my mountain was I wanted to be a professional footballer from the age of 7. I'm going to be a footballer. When I made my debut and scored at Wolves, fell off a cliff. And then form went, and the very same people who've been building me up then started to go, oh yeah, well, you're playing in the men's game now, you can't cope, you bullied everyone growing up because you were bigger than them, and what the fuck are you talking about? I played against big guys. That wasn't the issue. I'd hit my mountaintop. I wanted to be a footballer. I just scored in front of 30,000 people, signed a deal with Adidas. I'd arrived. And I had no one to go, you've arrived, haven't you?
Yeah.
And this, I say this in my book, and I said if I'd have had a father figure or someone going, do me a favour, Drew, just look over there, what do you see? I look over and, whoa, loads of mountains. Okay. Do you want to go there? Mordor, and if you look at Lord of the Rings, and because I think that's a great, again, Peterson talks about all these things. If you look at Lord of the Rings, and that's darkness.
Yeah.
Well, what are all the mountains? Well, that's first one's age 19, what you got to do in the next year, 20, 21, 22, England caps.
Yeah.
Fucking hell, I've got to go through all that. You don't have to. Do you want to get out? No, I want to go there.
Yeah.
So I never had a let's go again. I'd reached the top of my mountain. 300 metre exit. I'm out now. Because it's taken so much. You've been a young tennis player. Imagine you play in a major at 17 and you do really well.
Yeah.
Fuck, that's hard. Because you've reached a goal.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I look at the 2 business owners that I've worked with for the last 5 years, and we talk about that, and they'll exit, and they just laugh. They fucking exit. Going again.
Yeah.
Just going straight into something else. Let's go.
Yeah.
Carry me out at 75.
Yeah.
It's the energy, isn't it? Because it's your energy.
I'm just trying to think, is that because I know I'm going to go through that process, right?
Absolutely.
Where, you know, I was an athlete. I was actually a DJ for a bit, and then I went into business. I've had like loads of different careers, right?
Yeah.
And I've always had those rebirth periods. But when you go through those rebirth periods, often you get a bit down. And thinking about it at the time, I didn't think about this like, what's my next mountain, right? And sometimes you don't even know. But is that the solution? Is that always thinking about your next mountain?
No, I don't think you think the serenity prayer, which I have on my ribcage from any of the 12-step fellowships, that universe grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change.
Yes.
Courage change the things I can, wisdom to know the difference. Serenity to accept the things I cannot. Serene, lake. So I want my mind to be like that. To accept the thing, just acceptance. It's constant acceptance. Am I going to be down after huge success? Hugely down. Yeah. The day I sell the company and all the energy, it's done, and there's a big party, and I go into my mansion, I shut the front door, and the missus goes, have you put the bins out in your mansion? The fuck? That's it? Fucking putting bins out. Fuck this shit. Get out. Let's go again. What can I start? What can I invest in? How can that not be?
Yeah.
So I think acceptance, once we accept the energy in us, again, for me, the winner, nothing's ever going to be enough for me. Yeah. And I sit with that, but I can only do day at a time, because if I start thinking about next week and if I look at my last year, I look at 2023. If you'd have said to me, waking up in January, February, March, work with the US national team, flown out to 2 camps, working with Cornell University now, one of the Ivy Leagues across 6-7 teams, this, that, PFA are going to buy my education, going to work at Swansea now, Southampton. You just said in 12 months, one of those, I just don't know. Yeah. So when people go, what do you think is going to be next? I'm looking at them, what? No idea. Yeah. You know, just continuing to embrace the winner. Yes. He's always revving up. Wants a challenge, I
like the analogy about the bins, because there's a Robert Downey Jr.
Is that your job as well? It's my
job. Well, it's a very masculine.
I love the job.
Yeah, I don't mind taking out the bins.
A bit of fresh air in the morning.
Yeah, exactly. But Robert Downey Jr.'s got a great quote where he's like, you know, when I'm at home with my wife and kids, I'm not Iron Man, I'm just a guy, and you know, they're like, wait,
T-shirt and
shorts. Yeah, there's a load of mess. You haven't taken out the bins, etc. Right? And I often tell that story in business because I think a lot of people have fear, or I'm reaching out to this CEO of this big company, I've got this meeting with all these big executives, and I say psychologically, just imagine them taking out the bins. They're just normal people. They go through the same mundane shit that all of us do.
I came up with a process really that I worked through that, you know, because you got me thinking about fear again. Healthy fear. Healthy fear is the truth. Yeah. So what's the truth? Don't perform, you sacked. Done. Cleaner. If it stays fairly unclean for the first couple of weeks, you're probably going to get someone go, well, you're a shit cleaner, sacked. So you should have that healthy fear.
Yes.
There's a tiger coming in the room, probably want to be scared. Don't perform, I'm out.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's good fear. My daughter dances now 6 days a week. She moaned about going to practice the other week. I said, no, it's cool, just don't go. Don't fucking come in here talking about you being a dancer. I said, because there'll be people in Russia and Ukraine who'll see you off in a second. Off you go, little girl. And she started crying. Wife said, is that too much? I said, maybe. But went in later and gave her a cuddle. I said, look, it's always said with love, but don't bring that shit to me.
Yeah.
Don't say you want to do something and then want to get out of it.
Yeah.
If you're really keen about doing something, I'm all in, I'll back you, but don't come with that. So there's a help that she has to feel that fear that I will not make a dancer with that shit. Cool, feel that. So there's healthy fear.
Yeah.
Unhealthy fear is when I'm just attached to thinking. What happens if they do that? And shit, if I go and do that pitch and it all goes wrong, my God, I'm going to get sacked. And then the wife, and then what would the in-law, you're now into just the most toxic. That's the brain, that's thinking. That's what meditation, all the yogis, that's what they're all doing in the ashrams and separate from mind and heart. I these people, I mean, I go to Nepal and we did a retreat, and I go and do a fucking retreat in Nepal. You got CEOs, you're still a CEO in 2 weeks' time. So when you come back, let's see how long your spirituality lasts.
Yeah. Well,
fucking hell. Do this stuff now while you're CEO, while you're in the fire and it's burning up around you. You don't have to go to Nepal.
Yeah. Well, that's one of the reasons I set up this podcast, actually. So one of the balances is material and spiritual. The material thing, I think, is very obvious because it's like, oh, you have loads of money and you're not happy. Everyone talks about that, right? It's obvious, right? The spiritual thing is, okay, yeah, I'm going to go and meditate in India, be in an ashram for 1 month, and then I'm going to come back and I'm going to be in the same stress that I was before. Whereas it's like, how can you apply all these practices in your daily life on a daily basis? Because you're going to get stressed. But then it's like, how do you deal with that stress on a daily basis? And I think people are often looking at like, yeah, I'm going to do this one retreat and it's going to fix me, right?
Yeah. It's like I say, it's 24 hours at a time. I love what Jordan Peterson said recently with Dennis Prager. He was talking. He's an incredible man as well. And Dennis Prager asked him, why do you never commit to the question of, do you believe in God? He said, well, it's nonsense. There's only one Christian, he was Jesus. The rest of it's nonsense. He said, I live as if God exists. I thought such a powerful line. That highest moral state, for me, authenticity. When I wake up at 1 in the morning staring at the ceiling, that's whatever God is, and I don't know, I'm not affiliated to any religion, but I have huge faith in something. That's the universe waking me up. Get up. Fucking deal with this. And I'm going to give you a horrible feeling in your heart until you realise what you've done here. Yeah. Been a coward. Go and address it. Or don't.
Yeah.
So it's like that fear, that terrifies me. Me selling out on myself again, because that's what sent me to rehab, terrifies me. I can't do it again. I won't do it. I'll risk everything. Wife, fucking money, everything. I won't sell out on myself again. I won't come and give someone the stock answer. And actually, as a coaching tool, it's been highly powerful. But you can only do it with people who are in high performance. And people, we're all in high. No, you're not all in high performance. High performance, when it means that much, you'd rather die. Like, I'm all in here.
Yeah. I
want to be the very best. And it's a very powerful tool to lead. I've started to lead people straight to that within 2 minutes. Players who are like, doing okay. And I said, it's interesting. I was speaking to the head coach earlier, and he's looking to replace you in the summer. Looking to a couple of players he's going to buy and replace you. You see his face like that. I said, I said, what? And then I'd got wind that things have been breaking down with the girlfriend. And how's things with your partner? Yeah, she's just moved back up north for a few days. She says it's hard being around me at times, so she's going to fucking leave you. So she'll be sleeping with someone sooner. So all of a sudden, girlfriend's fucked you off. Clubs don't want you anymore. You're fucked. And then you just sit there. I said, or in 24 hours, let's give 72 hours, she'll start texting. You go onto the pitch and you'll be yourself again. Well, now the manager goes, let's give this another week. Maybe I don't need to replace him. Keep that going for 3 months. He doesn't replace you at all. You get a new contract. Girlfriend comes back to you and is like, you're the best man since sliced bread. You've got to sort your shit out. You've got to step into fear. Yeah. So we have this vulnerability, acceptance, sweat and courage. So vulnerability is that moment. I'm fucking terrified of everything you've just said. Good. So you should be. I am. I'm terrified of losing my family and work and terrified. Yeah. Okay, well, that's my vulnerability. That's the truth. Vulnerability just means the truth. That's the truth. Now, do you accept that will happen? She's already moved away for 3 days. Like, it's fucking happening. Do you accept that she ain't coming back while you're this anxious wreck who can't perform? That's not attractive, is it? It's fucking... She didn't want that. She'd rather sleep with the drug dealer than sleep with that shit. So you've got to, inside you, pull the man out in you. I'm with you. I'm going to support you, full of love. I'm here. I'm not going to leave you, but we need to address this. So do you accept that? Yeah, do you accept that he's probably going to look to replace you as a sales guy, as an athlete, if you don't perform? Yeah, I accept that. Now what have you left with? Sweat, courage. Get back to it. Work and courage. Courage to say, yeah, little things happen with a girlfriend where, like, I'll lie to her about playing golf, or I'll she'll say something that'll piss me off and I don't say anything. I said, well, next time she says that, say, who the fuck do you think you're speaking to? Don't talk to me like that. I said, you put a boundary up. Yeah, it happens on the pitch as well. A player said to me the other day, he blamed me for a mistake, and then he said it in the video analysis on the Monday. I said, really, what did you do? He goes, nothing. I said, that doesn't ever happen again. I said, you say, who the hell are you talking to? That was your fault. In that moment, you've just done that to get out of jail. Bullshit.
Yeah.
I said, you have to step in. That's courage.
Yeah.
You just told me you feel it. You feel it, you bury it. You feel it, you bury it. Well, now you're fucked.
Yeah.
Now you're depressed. You can't perform. So it's really that process I've stumbled across that vulnerability, acceptance, that 1, 2, 3, and I'm not really one for like 6-point programs of leadership and all that stuff, but that 3 things of how do I feel? I'm scared, acceptance, and, sweat and courage is my philosophy for everything I do.
Yeah.
Father, husband, business. I've only got that, the ability to work hard. Like today, the alarm goes at 5:30, get up, do some stuff, meditation, take my daughter from her first marriage. I take her, she's 30 minutes away to her school from my house. I drove there, dropped off at 7:30, boom, on the train, park in here, 2 client calls, come to this, into coaching all afternoon, and then present at 7:30 tonight. Cool. Shut the fuck up and do it. Hard work. Sweat.
Yes.
Nothing happens without that. Yeah. And then have courage. You ask me a question, answer it. Don't give a shit who's listening. That's my truth. Don't switch off. You don't want to hear it.
Yeah.
Block me, delete me. I don't care. I'm moving on. Like, do you know what I mean? I don't have anything else. In that rehab clinic, I've got nothing. Look, I've got nothing. I've got that.
Yeah.
And that's Djokovic, right? I see that in that man. I just think, fucking what a guy.
Yeah.
And everyone's like, what is it? And performance, get a new sports scientist, new swing coach, and sitting golf, new swing coach. Fucking hell.
Yeah. What's because fear, I think, ties in a lot to the ego, right? And it's a difficult question. Like, what's a healthy level of ego? And I think obviously it ties into some of the stuff we've been talking about with fear.
I don't know. I hear about healthy ego. I don't want anything to do with ego. Ego is edged God out. That's the best way I've ever heard describing that. God being that highest moral sense, that compass, that internal knowing. Going back to Djokovic with the vaccine, it was an internal knowing and a decision that I don't feel I'm being told the truth here.
Yeah.
I'm going that way. That's God for me. That's above ego. Ego is, well, what will they say? And well, I need to look strong. I'm Novak Djokovic. No.
Yeah.
So I don't know about healthy ego. I don't want anything to do with my ego. I can observe. Yeah. I try and be the watcher of Muji, the spiritual guy called Muji, if anyone has MOOJI.
Okay.
He's a profound guy on YouTube. He talks about just watching, just observe the ego all day, just observe it. Needs to know, and labels. And so I don't know about healthy ego.
Do you think winning comes from ego though?
I think the level of what I've realised in myself is the level of energy of the winner in me matched by the level of ego. Okay. I need to be the man.
Yeah.
I'm needy as fuck. I need everyone talking about me, or they want to open doors for me. I want all of that. That's the winner. So what I'm able to do is like just recognise that. Look at the trait. Look at some of the byproduct of the winner. Is the same level of ego. So if the energy as a winner, if my son's energy now at 4 means the ego's gonna be the same level, building up alongside it. So when people say, "Oh, the best performers have big egos," but the best performers have huge winning energy. And the ego rise up alongside it. That's why the best have spiritual practices. I look at Messi and you look at these guys. Before the game, it's all straight to the heavens. After any goal, it's straight to the heavens. Now, it's not about a religious thing, whatever you believe in. But it's basically, there's a level of humility there which is bigger than ego. It's like, I'm not in control of any of this.
Yeah.
I was virtually clinically a dwarf. If you take Messi at 14, they pumped me full of steroid.
Yeah.
I don't even know what I'm doing here. I don't even know what I'm doing here. So it's like, but he's a vicious, nasty little fucker, Messi. If we're honest, you hear the stories internally. Yeah, he's a winner.
Yeah.
It's all about him.
Yeah. The spiritual practices is interesting because I found out recently that Alcoholics Anonymous actually came from Carl Jung.
Well, yeah.
Because one of his patients, and apparently this happened quite a lot, his last step is like, if I can't do anything for you, the only way you're going to sort yourself out is with God. Spiritual practices,
100%.
whatever you want to call it.
100%.
And actually one of his patients who was a chronic alcoholic, he helped him, but then he relapsed and he came back. He said, look, I can't do anything more for you. You're going to have to find God or religion. And then through that, he sorted himself out and he started Alcoholics Anonymous.
I mean, Bill and Bob, the original tapes of AA, because I went into AA as a visitor. I wasn't an alcoholic. I did Sex and Love Addicts Anonymous, Sex Addiction. I did Codependency Anonymous. I've done 2 12-step sponsored those guys.
Yeah.
But if you look at the heart of all addiction, it's codependency. It's dependent on something other than myself or God. So I need something: alcohol, drugs, spending, gambling. There's something to fill the God-sized hole, they'd say. The minute people hear God, that's it, religious, you're this. It's all the labels again, which is such ignorance. Which is why I love Peterson saying, I just live as if God existed.
Yeah.
And that highest moral compass inside that we don't ever get right. We will lie, we will deceive. We just have to be, I will be a coward, but I have to. God awareness is that dark night of the soul where I'm woken up. What's the truth here? I've been a coward. Okay, I'm gonna confront that. And that's all. It's just a constant process of that. But yeah, if I look at AA, it's a spiritual practice. But actually, I think what I've seen a lot with athletes who've gone through addiction recovery in the 12 steps, and I came away from the 12 steps. Because what I found after 4 years of going to meetings 3 times a week, is that it became another system where this is the way, and there was egos involved in it. It was like, well, I'm not sure that's it. That's beyond spirit. We're now into another system. Yes. So I found, and also what I found is, because it's all about collapsing the ego. For any addict, it's like we need to collapse the ego. Step 4, moral inventory, and you make amends in step 9. Yeah. What I've realised is the darkness, the winner, the ego's always going to be there.
Yeah.
And I've seen a lot of athletes, I see them online now, they're doing stuff, and I'm like, oh no, it's all very nice and wishy-washy. Nice being ignorant. It's not the truth. Because inside you's a level of darkness that used to make you go to the gambling table and roll 30 grand spins. Yeah. Like that, where's that guy gone?
Yes.
That guy is that's the key to everything. Bring him back in, manage him.
Yeah.
And I think that's where I live, which again pulls me further away, because people don't talk like that. They don't, whoa, you do what? I said, I allow all of that in. I've sat with guys who said, we've had tears in their eyes, gone, I've never said this, I pictured drowning my son in the bath the other day. I said, that fucking happens a couple of times a week, that, throwing him out the window, and you never haven't. Do you think like that? I said, yeah, why wasn't he fucking screaming at you? Fucking hell, drowning. I've done FBI in my head. 5 seconds under until he can get his fucking get up, and I've gone everywhere. Heinous things in my head.
That goes back to the mass murderers, right? Yeah.
But you can
have moments. It doesn't mean you are a mass murderer. But
I've seen me stab people and all sorts. So it's all okay.
Yes.
I'm never going to act out on any of that. But I would never share any of that. And these guys start to open up. So shamed, so lost. No one, and they come for performance. I said, performance at least don't worry about that. That's easy. One of the biggest things I've seen on this is, and I in my coaching practice, I've realised I run a men's group called Sweat and Courage, the club. 20 guys on there globally. Come on Wednesday night for a Zoom. Lewis runs it for me, but I dip in and out, and I was on there last night. And guys in their 40s, 20s, 30s, athletes, business owners, and the big theme was marriage, wife.
Wow.
Huge. I have seen there is a reason men say in the general, happy wife, happy life.
Yeah.
It's a submission, it's a giving over, it's a quitting. This conflict is too much. I'm going to stop. I'm going to allow that force to be bigger. Well, now you're fucked. So they come for performance. I jump straight to in a relationship. Yeah, but it's really good. But, you know, in terms of the numbers, I said, I don't give a shit about your numbers. I said, tell me about your wife. And it starts to come here. Yeah, she says I work too much and the guilt and the... I said, right, you fucking tell her the national average wage is 30 grand a year, right?
Yeah.
What are you bringing in? 350. Okay. Tell her to shut the fuck up and get some gratitude and humility, or you'll leave her. She needs some humility and gratitude. That's bullshit. There is a price to pay. No one gets balance. Do you go out drinking? He said, no, I don't go to pubs. Or do you sleep around? Never cheat on her. Okay, what an outstanding man you are. Raise your kids? Raise my kids. What, but you're not there every fucking night at 5 o'clock? Fuck off. No, but but these men are broken. I said, I'm divorced. I realised I gave all of myself away to everyone.
Yeah.
Football coach, you can tell me who I am, wife, you're a bad, but fuck off. I'm a winner. I'm always going to drive.
Yeah.
I try and get balance. I try and be there 3 nights a week to bath the kids. I try my best. Never going to happen. But I don't allow shame to come in for that.
Yeah.
I don't. We have an abundant life.
Yeah.
And that's
I actually
the
love
price
this.
to pay for that.
I love this advice because it's very, like, opposed to what a lot of people say.
I know, man.
Which is, don't give too much almost in a relation, like, essentially where you're like, oh, I don't matter in this relationship. It's all about the other person, actually, as you said, that healthy.
Well, I think it's two energies coming together. And I think with any energies that come together, one can dominate another.
Yeah.
The ego and the winner. I've got to be, and so with that two energies, there cannot be a dominance.
Yeah.
I shared on the club last night. And I said, I'm going to do a post on this. I said, fucking hell. The boys were like, you stick that on LinkedIn, it's game on. I'll comment. I said, I'm going to stick it on. I said, because I'm stealing Jordan Peterson. I've got the clip on YouTube where he talks about it.
Yeah.
He asked the guy in the podcast who was what was the biggest grossing box office in the first 48 hours ever with a female audience, 50 Shades of Grey. So Peterson talks about this in his practice as a psychologist. He said, I found it fascinating. So here's a film about a woman effectively being submissive with a dominating male who's a billionaire.
Yeah.
And it's packed. He said audiences off the scale with women watching that. He says, if you don't label that and you just observe, oh, this is interesting. So this film's broken about a billionaire dominating a woman. She's submissive and there's sex chambers and dungeons. And the audiences are packed with women. What's the urge to see here? What's exciting? Fascinating.
Wow.
Yeah. And he said, I believe in the women's psyche there is a desire to be submissive in a healthy way.
Yes.
I talk about healthy disrespect. Well, the minute you use the word disrespect, there is no healthy. Yes, there is. There's a healthy disrespect. I'm not going to respect that opinion. I've watched you. You're a liar and a cheat. Like, there's nothing to respect here. But I'm going to do it healthily. I'm just going to walk away.
Yeah.
That's a controversial subject. But if you look at the facts, that's an undeniable fact, isn't it? 50 Shades of Grey launches, book flies off the shelves, can't get one.
Yeah.
Audiences packed. Oh, that's interesting. What's exciting here? What's nice? What are you looking forward to watching? Fucking hell.
Yeah, it's very
fascinating stuff.
We could probably do another.
You could go everywhere.
You
could go everywhere. But I just think to summarise that point, with the men I work with, who have the winner,
yes,
it's hard to hang on to the winner because there's a price to pay.
Yeah,
you're never going to get balance. You always seek it. You try and be the best man you can be, but you're never going to get balance. Guilt will be on you constantly. You have to make peace with it. Can you look in the mirror and go, I'm trying to be the best I can be?
Yes. Have you heard the Peterson, where he's comparing Carl Jung's archetypes to the Lion King characters? Have you heard that one?
No, but I can just go there with the hyenas, and you'd have the hyenas, and you'd have...
I'll send it to you after. We'll put it in the show notes
Amazing.
as well. But you know, like the anima figure as well.
Yeah.
So he talks about Nala being the anima figure, but Simba is not being the man, because what's happened is he's left his kingdom. Yeah. He's left his destiny.
He's run away from responsibility.
He's run away from responsibility and truth, right?
Yeah.
And he's doing Hakuna Matata. And in principle, when you're younger, Hakuna Matata is great, right? And everyone goes through that adolescent period of, they're partying, they're doing whatever. And then she comes and she's like, what the hell are you doing? Our kingdom is burning, right? Yeah. And then the thing is also, often the woman steers you back to truth. That's part of the anima, is steering you back to truth. And he's then got to go back, and she doesn't know he's got to face Scar
and Scar is the shadow.
Yeah.
And he thinks that he actually killed his dad, even though it was Scar, right?
Yeah.
So it's actually very deep, the way he analyzes The Lion King. There's so much profoundness in a lot of these Disney films, but really interesting.
There is. It's powerful. And I love his thing about bearing your cross nobly. That's the story of Christianity.
Yes.
Christ stuck his cross up on the hill and said, you can nail me to that.
Yeah.
That's who I am. And it's like, fuck, take on as much responsibility as possible. That's the moment with the player.
Yeah.
Do you want to? I want to be a father and a husband. Well, she's about to leave you. What else do you want to be? Well, I want to be a top player. Well, that's about to go. Take the responsibility and the huge burden that comes on. You know, and this is back to the fear. I wake up every day full of fear. Fucking right. Got 4 kids, huge mortgage, wife. I want to be a great husband. I want to be a great father. I want my businesses to be profound. I want to do great work. I'm fucking overwhelmed. I don't know if I can do any of it. Am I good enough? No, I know I'm good enough today. I don't have to answer that anymore. But just overwhelmed by the burden.
Yes.
Great. And I have this, Peter, it's exactly where you're exactly in the right place. It should be fucking overwhelming. Because that leads me then into spirituality. Can't do this.
Yeah.
I'm going to surrender and pray. What can you do today, Drew? That quiet voice goes to the next 24 hours. Can you have courage for me? Yeah, I can do that. Can you work hard? I can do that. And that was the moment I'd have loved as an athlete. And I talked about that in my book, those moments in the dress room where I did find that place. Probably 5% of 600 games I found that place where it was a quiet voice. Can you run around today with the guys? Can you help your teammate if the pass goes astray? Can you give all of yourself? And can you not hide? Yeah, I can do that. Then all of a sudden you come off the pitch, man of the match, and but you haven't got a clue what you've done. That's what's just no idea what I've done.
Yeah.
And you surrendered to the burden.
Yeah. Last question. I wanted to, you sitting here now, imagine you, just before you went into therapy, you know, after your career, what advice would you give that younger self that you were in that position, you sitting here now?
I don't know. I just heard the word advice. I hate the word advice. Sorry, because it's just like, it's my opinion. I prefer truth. I'm going to share my truth with you. I don't know if it's right or wrong. Here's my truth: that if you don't have the courage to be yourself, whatever you're told, if the teacher tells you it, you fucking ignore them. If the coach tells you it, you fucking ignore them. If the police tell you it, you fucking ignore them. If you know what you know to be right, Djokovic and the vaccine, you do it. And you take all consequences the other side of that line. Yeah.
All right. Well, I don't think there's anything more to say, Drew. Thanks so much for coming on. I think that's a really great way to end the show. We'll put a link to all your social media. Any other like resources, books or anything you want to send people to?
No, I the work I love is the work of Brené Brown.
Okay.
Love Brené Brown's work. I think she's incredible. Love Jordan Peterson's work. I think he's incredible. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, yeah. Thanks a lot.
Thanks so much for your time.
I've learned a lot from the show.
Well, I've loved the way you've allowed this to flow and your depth and everything else. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks.
Thanks, man. Thanks.
Subscribe to us across all the podcast platforms and on YouTube, and we'll see you on the next episode of The Cosmic Bridge.